Welcome to another Coffee with Samso. So today we are back at Samso Central at the UWA Club here on the campus of University of Western Australia. Today we are talking to E79 Gold Mines Limited. The ASX code is E79. We're talking to Ned Summerhayes, who is the CEO of the company. E79 is a gold explorer listed on the ASX with projects in Western Australia and the Northern Territory. I was recently reminded of E79 on the 6th of February when Kalgoorlie Gold Mining released their results on their Lighthouse project. They were the recipient of the Nearology trophy. On that day, E79 shares went from just around 2 cents to a high of 5.4, I believe, over the next few days. And they closed at 4.4 cents yesterday at close, obviously prior to the recording today. Currently, E79 has a market cap of 4.8 million as of the 20th of February 2025. So today, let's find out a bit more about E79, the concepts, the reasons why it was the center of attention for a Nearology trophy. I've known the directors of E79 for a while now. I do believe that they have good credibility. I like the concepts. So let's speak to Ned and find out what it is all about. Before we continue with the Coffee with Samso, just a short bio of Ned Summerhayes. He's had over 15 years experience in the industry, completed a Masters of Economic Geology from the University of Tasmania. Ned's recent role was with Black Cat Syndicate as the exploration manager, having both corporate responsibilities and directing technical programs. As I've described before, Samso now is an independent platform, so we look forward to you supporting us on our support page as a monthly subscription or a one-off donation. And also on YouTube, please subscribe and also give us a thumbs up and likes on the video. So grab your favorite beverage, get comfortable, and let's get on with another Coffee with Samso. Welcome to another Coffee with Samso. Today we've got E79 Gold Mines here with us. CEO Ned Summerhayes. Ned, can you tell us who Ned Summerhayes is and how you came about with E79?
Yeah, no problem. So I'm a geologist by profession, and I've worked throughout Australia and overseas, and I was an exploration geologist. I've done a little bit of mining, but almost exclusively exploration, and probably spent the bulk of my time with Silver Lake Resources. So taking projects, getting them through to discovery, through the study phase and into mining. Then there was an opportunity to move on from Silver Lake to be with a junior company, which was Black Cat Syndicate. And I stayed there for a number of years and built up their resource base as their exploration manager. And then again, an opportunity to come on in a more corporate role with E79 Gold Mines.
In the intro, I mentioned that I know the directors of E79 quite well, Peter Ironside, better than say Chris Cairns, but these guys have come through from Integra, well credentialed, as we all know, had many years of experience. How easy or how hard is it to work with these guys? Is it something that you guys have that smooth transition sometimes, and sometimes it's...
Oh, look, it's very easy to work with all of the board. Deborah Lord's on the board as well, Peter Ironside and Chris Cairns. Peter and Chris have worked together for a long time. They know each other very well. They know how each one's going to act and react And so that makes it quite simple. I came through, and E79 came through in the 2021 class of ASX listings. So there was what, 110 companies going through that year onto the ASX. Each one needed a CEO or an MD. So really, they were looking for someone with little experience that they could mould into how they want. And so the transition was simple. You know, I've got my skill set. You show me what you guys are looking for and how you'd prefer things to run, and I'll run with that.
Okay. As I mentioned before, I got reminded of you guys 6th of February. I in my intro, which you haven't seen, I made a mention that you guys won the trophy for the neurology play that day. You want to just give us a lowdown on all that, and we can sort of touch on specifics a bit later.
Yeah, no problems. It was a day just like every other day, and noticed a big spike in the share price, and had a look, and our neighbours at Cal Gold had made the Lighthorse discovery, and then they hadn't mentioned us. We weren't on their imagery or anything, but the social word got around that we were quite close. I think our tenement's about 500 metres away. And so, our share price ended up doubling at the end of the day. We went up about 30%, and then we got a speeding ticket from the ASX, which is standard, that's fine. And we just referred to their announcement, and then we went up a lot more, up 100% on the day. And
So did you know this was happening before, or
no, not
or
really.
was going to happen? Did you know they were drilling there?
So we're aware of those guys. We share a drilling contractor with them. We share our the clearing contractor. We're in 500 metres next door. So the start of that discovery was actually announced in December. And bedrock anomalism got quite a good hit, 8 metres at 2.29 grams per tonne. That was about 50 metres from our tenement. But those guys do a lot of drilling. So it was still a bit of a surprise that it ran so well, and that the result was so fantastic. Aircore isn't normally, that's atypical for Aircore. As a fantastic, the 17 metres at 4.81, fantastic result.
So in December, did it get any interest from them and you? Or went unnoticed?
Look, they didn't get any market reaction from that announcement, and so we probably didn't pay as much attention as we should have. That announcement was also released on the day of our Christmas party, and so we probably didn't pay too much attention.
So that's interesting, because I just I'll be releasing a blog, effectively talking about companies like, well, it was really based on the reaction that E79 and KL got out of this discussion. And I had some examples of why I think 2025 market seems to be a bit more hotter. I think the market may have turned, rightly or wrongly. How do you think of that comment?
Oh, I 100% agree.
Because those kind of results, don't normally get this kind of reaction.
No, well, to be fair, it was probably Aurum who started the trend, because they're in the region as well, and they got a great drilling result and a big bump in their share price a couple of weeks earlier. And so I think that probably primed the market a little bit. And then when Cal Gold announced theirs, the market was maybe already a little aware of the region. And then we were just pure neurology. We haven't drilled our side yet. Some wonderful targets, but we're just there in the slipstream of those two. But I'm guessing that even before the Aurum hit and subsequent share rise, really it was probably Ramelius's stitching up of the large unmined resources in the area, making a regional play, and it's just bringing more attention from more people into that area.
Okay. I love your arrows, by the way, on your announcement. Everywhere. It's on our tenement somewhere.
Yeah.
But But that's the big unknown in exploration, right? I say that with as a joke, but when you got untapped areas, in which is as we all know, who ever worked out in any part of these regions before, it is a big area, and these deposits have very small footprint.
Yep,
We're not looking, so these things can go unnoticed for a long, long time.
definitely.
In even between drill holes, you find those things. So it's interesting you mentioned how it goes back, because I didn't know that. I didn't obviously don't follow the region. You do, and it the Ramelius thing in the whole thing. When did that happen? Was that last year?
Yeah, so they bought Apollo. That was a couple of years ago, and then bought Breaker Resources. And so those two discoveries, the Rebecca Gold and Bombora, they're 2 million-ounce gold camps, unmined at this point, and they made a regional consolidation play. They both sit within 20 kilometres of our tenure, and so just having them there and they're going through the study phase. They've put out I think a PFS study, and what a mill might look like, what size mill, and that just creates, for the smaller companies, it's just such a boost, because anything that you find has an opportunity to find a home. The last thing anyone wants is to find something that's not quite big enough to be standalone, and no regional play to put it through. So just having them there, and of course they're a much bigger company, much bigger reach, much more shareholders. So, maybe it's making their shareholders a bit more aware of the region as well. So
That's quite significant, because it's always the plant, the mill question people ask. If you found yourself this deposit, how are you going to monetize it?
100%, 100%. And Carasue Dam's got a big mill and a haul road going through to the Hawthorn deposit, which is probably 20 k's north of Lighthorse. Hawthorn Resources with the Trouser Legs deposit. So there is already a haul road there, but two mills just creates two options. Yeah.
I mean, from a geological point of view, and looking at it from a person who's an investor, obviously a retail end, and you got some sense of how these things work geologically. When I look at I think it's figure 1 on their map, when they did the announcement on the 6th, it looked like there's a lot of work still left to do to pinpoint an economic deposit. And then you look at the strike length, and that's so much more space. And then you start thinking to yourself, well, how wide are these things? And then it just goes through the roof after that.
Yep.
How are you approaching this, in terms of, obviously now there's some interest in that area? How are you guys approaching this?
Look, we try not to get too cute in our drill planning. We're well aware of the role and the wonderful ability of air core drilling to cover vast areas reasonably quickly, and the air core's role really is to bring you into where you want to do higher quality drilling, deeper drilling with the RC and the diamond rig. That's really the role of the air core. And so to get a great quality hit like Kalgold got out of the air core, it's just maybe moving them forward a few more steps. So they drilled, I believe, on 200 metre line spacing and 80 metre hole spacing, and so you can just extend that to the north. They've done a lot more work. A lot of work went into that drill target before they drilled it, and so they've got a reasonable idea of where they think it can continue. And then we've tasked with the job of, wow, now we know that there's something there, we can pay more attention to those similar features on our side of the tenement. So it's not something that we've marketed as yet, but we've actually drilled about a lot of holes. Our target 3 sits in that same stratigraphic position between the two magnetic highs, about 3 kilometres to the north. So we've drilled 300 air core holes and 20 RC holes into a similar target, but a couple of kilometres north. So we found a beautiful lower tenor air core anomaly, and when we drilled under it, we got grade, but nothing like what they got. And we were drilling off the eastern side of a granite intrusion. Their drilling, I don't believe, hit any granite. So we were in the area, but needed to come maybe south a little bit. And that's a very familiar story. So Cogella's Gift, a similar distance east of Lighthorse, that's been known for 15 years or more, probably even longer. And so all the attention went to structures that looked more like Cogella's Gift. And then Kalgold undertook a reimagination of the geophysics imagery and came up with the Lighthorse target and drilled that.
Was that solely geophysical target, or did they do swirls on before the drilling?
I believe it was a solely geophysical target. There is a large paleo channel in the region. There's not over Lighthorse, but elsewhere. So soils, there hasn't been a lot of soils data done in that region. There's a lot of transported cover, so the soils are maybe not so effective.
Okay. I will ask a stupid question. Is the Lighthorse region?
The amount of times I've said Lighthouse, and in all our ASX announcements, I've had to do a search and replace. It's not Lighthouse. Yeah.
So is that going to be your focus now for you guys?
Oh, look, it'll be our immediate focus, 100%. So we're doing our drill planning at the moment. We'll get a rig out there in the coming weeks, and we'll test our side. Like I mentioned, we've tested that position maybe 3 kilometres to the north. At this stage, we probably won't drill the entire way down. We'll focus around the main targets around Lighthorse, and then slowly work our way north. That'll be our focus for the next couple of months for sure.
I noticed you guys got other project that I kind of curious. It's the Mountain Home project.
Yeah. So in terms of workflow, the Kalgold discovery came at an opportune moment, because we've got some drilling planned and much more work planned at Mountain Home, but it's in the wet season in the Northern Territory, so we can't get access at the moment. And we probably, the wet season's arrived a little bit later, so if it finishes a little bit later, May might be the earliest that we could get there, and even then, you've got to rebuild the roads and everything. So this has come at a perfect time, something for us to sink our teeth in, news flow to the investors, and then we can go and do some work up at Mountain Home. We'll do the initial drilling there. It's never been drilled. And then, depending on which results, work out which one we'll put. You never put all your attention into one.
Yeah.
But obviously, Mountain Home having a seasonal access, you probably want to do something just before the wet season starts, whereas we can work longer at Laverton South.
I'm gathering Mountain Home's like conceptual target. Is that correct? I mean, I've seen some of your presentation. I think.
Yeah, pretty much. And that's where we've positioned the company to be. We listed as a greenfields discoverer, and that's where we want to be. So that target's a really interesting one. It's in the Macarthur Basin. You've got the Macarthur River Mine there. It's in the North Australian zinc belt. Lots of big sediment-hosted base metal deposits in the region. We've got the same stratigraphy, but it's an inlier, so it's a little bit off from the main Macarthur Basin, and it's an inlier of the Macarthur in the Carpentaria Basin. So an older basin in a younger basin. So it's already received less attention. And when we took the project on, we optioned that from NT Minerals about mid last year, and we knew that it had a copper gossan on there, the Mountain Home gossan. And that's about all we knew of the region. So when we went up there, immediately after optioning it, we got really lucky. A grass fire had come through, and so all the rocks were exposed, and we could trace it over a kilometre within 2 hours. if the grass was still there with the snakes and the remoteness, that's a couple of days exercise. So, and copper oxide is green and blues. It tells you where it is. So we managed to move it along quite quickly. But the main thing that we found from the data that we got back from the rock chips, apart from being very high grade, 45.5% copper in the rock chips, was that it had gold. And gold isn't common in the region. And so we got a rock chip up to 11.75 grams per tonne gold. And there's a number of other ones around a gram and quite a few around the kind of 0.1, 0.2. And gold is just not common in the region. So we're already starting to think maybe, it had been explored before for a MacArthur River style, but maybe we thought, we're looking at something a little bit different. And then our final program up there before the wet season was we got 9% bismuth out of a rock chip as well. And so that is, again, very atypical for the region. But that association, gold, copper, bismuth, that's Tennant Creek. That's the defining feature of the mineralising fluid at Tennant Creek. So it's about 400 kilometres maybe to the southwest. And so we're really not sure when we drill what we're going to find. We've got associations with MacArthur River, and now we've got, at least a geochemical signature that's similar to Tennant Creek. It's probably a bit too far for the fluids to reach, but we just don't know. And that's really the nature of early stage exploration. You do some work. The more work you do, the more you understand. So the initial drilling that we can do up there, obviously, we hope we hit something wonderful and we plan accordingly, but we're going to get a lot of information and understand a lot more with that initial drilling.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the points I wanted to make out, because obviously I was reminded of E79, but one of the reasons I like the company, because at the end of the day, it's still a punt, right? Whether you guys make a discovery or not. But what I do like is Chris and Peter. I mean, I actually approached Staveley to have a coffee with Samso way before the discovery.
Yep.
But for some reason, they didn't want to do it. And then the next thing I know, I think it was a couple of months, 3 months later, stepped off a plane, got a message saying, no, what do you think of this? And I think, bloody hell, that's discovery hole, right?
Yep.
So that's the kind of stuff that I see. You got a small market cap.
Yep.
It's not it's got expensive in terms of falling punch. So, and one of the things now that we've gone kind of independent in terms of our content creation is I like to explore these things and be able to talk to you guys about what you've just described, right? Because it's conceptual, but at the end of the day, if you do find something, then it's a discovery, a regional discovery, right?
Definitely. And one of the reasons to place yourself and situate the company as a greenfields explorer is you get the biggest return for the shareholders going from no discovery to discovery. That's where we like to be. That's where you can really add some shareholder value. When we listed, we weren't so interested in drilling under something that would be known around for a long time, and just maybe the current economics, the current commodity prices makes exciting, because it's a known quantity and people are expecting that. You probably see if a company becomes a gold mine, just to pick that commodity, and they get exactly what they predicted, the share market doesn't really reward that. It's it's good and they're making money, but they don't often get big changes in their share price by delivering exactly what they said. Where we like to see the big changes going from no mineralized system to a mineralized system.
I mean, at the end of the day, I always tell people there's always make a discovery or don't make a discovery. And don't make a discovery is as good as not making an economic discovery.
Yes.
And so it's all about making an economic discovery.
Yes.
I stole that terminology from Alan Kelly. He used it and I thought, well, that's a classic term to describe success in exploration, right?
Yeah, we very often think of in terms of, like I've mentioned before, going from no system to a system, but the quickly and cheaply that you can work out whether that system is worth pursuing is an incredibly important tool, because you can just keep drilling these things and keep getting sub-economic um, you know drill intersections, and you can use a lot of money um, testing something that may never be economic.
Yeah, I just feel that, rightly or wrongly, I hope I'm proven correct, that the management and technical aspects has always got to go hand in hand. And I think in terms of management, I like what I see. Obviously, the projects is how should I say? It's a work in progress.
Yeah,
Obviously,
yeah.
work in progress. Look, one of the things that a lot of punters out there, and I get the comments every time I talk to people, is that um, they have this hatred for our size company. I say our because obviously I'm involved in a listed entity myself and been in this sector for a long time. They promise the world and don't deliver. They seem to change the flavor with a wind change and hence give the impression that they're not serious. Then there's the lifestyle companies with lots of hand waving and not much substance. What's your thoughts? Because I'm pretty sure you've had those comments put to you as well, right?
100%. Yeah,
So
of
what are your
course.
thoughts?
Well, you kind of mentioned it excellently earlier. When you're doing in the discovery phase, it's kind of binary. You either discover something or you don't. And so if you promote too heavily something that has a binary outcome, it can go either way. Again, you don't get that so much if you're drilling under an old pit or testing something that's between two known gold deposits. It's not so much that binary outcome. And so you can alienate your shareholders, if you've promoted and promised and said too many flowery things, and then you test a binary system and it's negative. Then of course, and you get a few of those in a row, and then you can certainly alienate a portion of your shareholders. There's a portion that understand, as long as you're going out and testing these things, they're happier to test and fail than to not test. And so those companies, the more ones termed lifestyle, you can understand why the shareholders are upset if they're not testing. It costs a lot of money, as you know, to stay on the ASX. It costs a lot of money to keep compliant. And so if all the money is going into that and not into trying to discover something, there's no catalyst to, for the shareholders to get excited about. And so definitely, 100% agree. There's companies that aren't as active as they could be, and there's companies that they have a set amount of money and maybe they're trying to get the best acquisition that they can. So maybe they're holding on for a little bit, and maybe for a little bit, but not for too long.
I must say, most of people I've spoken to, in just from the company side, they genuinely want to make a discovery. Obviously, circumstances that come, just like funding and things like that, makes it tight, and therefore then they can't move left nor right because of that. And speaking of funding, is the market still tight for funding? Because obviously, the last 2 years have been really bad for small players like
Yeah, look,
E79s.
the last 2 years have been incredibly tough. There's a lot of companies out there. I mentioned earlier there's over 100 companies listed on the ASX in 2021. So they all needed refunding a year or two later, and some worldwide events and things. Maybe the money's a little bit tighter. So definitely there was a lot of companies of our size declining, whether they were discovering or whether they were not discovering, whether they'd been successful in discovering or not. And so certainly in our little pocket of the world, in that Laverton South area, we raised recently, and we had there was a lot of enthusiasm for the raise. So we came out of a trading hold on Monday, having raised last week.
Okay.
So yeah, we managed to raise. We were quite oversubscribed.
But do you think that's now, 2025, or?
I think it's not even just 2025. I think January 2025 probably wasn't as good as February. Yeah, for sure. There's a little window for whatever reason that's open where there's a lot of excitement. Record gold prices help, but the gold price was more or less at a record high all through 2024 as well. It kept going up, but each time it was to a new high. So and there just wasn't that enthusiasm there.
Because in my blog released, I even took the example of Osquest, where it's a porphyry play in Peru, and they got good, decent results. But normally you don't even hear a blimp out of this kind of. They had a good share price run too. So I do think there is a change. I don't know whether it's like a turn, but something's different significantly.
Yeah, it's interesting, and all these things, and even discoveries, really, you see and feel the change before you understand what it is that's changed. And the Lighthorse discovery is the same. They've discovered something, and now they've got to work out, why is it there? And the market's the same. It's something that in a bit of time we'll work out. Whether it was the thought of interest rates cutting, whether it was just the gold price being high, whether it was America, going through their election, and now it's known for the next couple of years. There might be, we've got an election coming up. Maybe the Australian investors might slow down, might speed up, but it's something you feel and see before you understand.
And most times you don't care as long as it's going your way.
Oh, look, we always care. I always think about luck in terms of companies and timing. You can discover something when if you discovered a lovely nickel thing now, when the price is low, or even a lithium, you're just not going to get the response as when you discover it higher. There's no technical side to that. That's beyond your control, and so maybe it's just a wonderful time for luck with these small gold companies at the moment, this little window. If you discover something now versus in 2024 or 2023, you're just getting a stronger market reaction.
I think it's all about timing. As you said, you mentioned lithium. 2 years ago, you're the darling. Here, you're not. 2 years ago, if you made a gold discovery, you won't get much reaction. So it's a case of where the punters are and where the market is at that time.
Definitely. And, something we've tried to do with E79 is to kind of stay in the commodities that we've got our expertise in and where we want to discover in. We didn't really do any pivoting to lithium, despite some pressures to do so, because that's where the enthusiasm was. And so we've moved from gold into doing a little bit of copper exploration as well, but they're two fairly steady commodities. So I can understand shareholders if they're in a company that just chases something while the price is good. It takes quite a long time to build up the knowledge and data and drilling to make a discovery, but you don't get that time frame if you're constantly changing your focus.
All right, that's fantastic. Any last words out there? Feel free to sell your soul and things like that.
Oh, look, I'm not a huge salesman. I'm an exploration geologist. We're in a wonderful position right at the moment. We've got two very exciting things to drill. We'll drill those and we'll keep moving forward. And hopefully, if people are interested, they can come along for the ride and support us. And hopefully those discoveries come. And that's we'll keep doing what we do.
All right, Ned. Look, as I said, I think E79 is one of the very few companies where I feel really confident about management because I know them for decades, and I've spoken to you a couple of times, and I think we I just get the feeling that you guys will do your utmost to do what you say, because obviously, as we said, circumstances change and beyond your control.
Yeah, of course.
But look, then, thanks for coming on to Coffee with Samso.
My pleasure.
And for the guys out there, do your own research as usual. And I'm sure Ned's happy to take phone calls and things like that.
Of course.
But till next time, guys, remember, I'm independent now, so you need to click those likes and subscribe and go to our support page and help us out there. So thank you, and thanks, Ned.
My pleasure. Thank you, Noel.
Right.